Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dashboard Basics with Calxa. My name's Simon, and I'm hosting this for you today. We're going to get through this as quickly as we can. There is a lot in dashboards that is available for you, and we're going to get through as much of it as we can, but there is plenty more at the end of basics that you can do with dashboards. Today, I'm going to guide you through that, and we're going to look at some customizable features and enable you to get a snapshot of your organization in a fairly dramatic sort of way. Okay, today's webinar is one of a series of four. We do, of course, run reporting basics on Tuesdays, budgeting basics on Wednesdays, and on Thursdays, prior to this one, cash flow basics. So please, if you haven't attended those, please do attend them and give yourself a chance to have all your basics in place and get the best out of Calxa. These webinars are for you, so please use chat box and use Q&A. We will get back to you with any of your answers for today. But let's have a look at our agenda for today. We are going to be looking at our preset dashboards. Many of you know already that we have 4 preset dashboards that are available to everybody. We're going to have a look at how you can navigate around those particular dashboards and how you can get different types of information from them, and how you can export those and make use of them, and how you can in fact add those to a bundle. Those of you who've done reporting basics may have already seen that you can add a dashboard, in fact, to a bundle and give yourselves a chance to have an excellent presentation to your management or board. We'll then have a look at how you can customize dashboards, how you can copy and edit a dashboard, and how we can use our dashboard tools to create the exact dashboard that you are after, and how we can add tiles in or parts of a dashboard into your particular dashboard. Okay, and we'll have a look at some help articles and so forth after this. Let's have a look at Calxa in action. Let's flip over to Calxa now. And you'll see here, naturally enough, we have opened up directly to a dashboard. I'm going to start with the overview dashboard here. And you can see here on this particular dashboard, I have a number of different charts. I'm not going to go through each chart in particular, other than to say there are a different variety of charts. So you can see here this particular one, income for the last 6 months and expenses for the last 6 months. Pretty standard sort of bar chart. It goes back for 6 months and gives you actuals against budget in a pretty standard sort of bar chart format. But in this instance over here, net profit year to date, I've got a waterfall chart. So that's also available to you, and you can put those into your customized dashboards as well. Then we've got a dial in here. So this is a KPI that's been created, and it gives a dial of the position that it's currently in. You can see I've got a budget number and an actual number showing up here. And of course, down here, I've got another set of KPIs available and a different sort of graph down here for cash flow for the next 6 months, where I'm showing some bars up and down and a line. Now notice here as I'm hovering over the numbers, that as I hover over, I'm getting the actual numbers that are related and underlying these particular graphs. So you can see that at any time you can hover over those and see those. Okay, if you're looking at a particular tile and you want to look at that in more detail, of course, we can expand it. And you can see there, I've got that in a more expanded sort of view. And we can, in fact, export those as well. I can expand the entire dashboard there. And if we click on this button, whether it happens to be a tile or happens to be this button here, I can export to a PDF or to Excel or a little picture. This particular, in this case, it's the entire dashboard. So let's export that out to a PDF. And that's going to load up a PDF with that particular dashboard on. And then from there, of course, you can use that in all the normal manners. While that's loading, let's go back and have a look at what else we can do. On every dashboard, of course, Most of them, these ones in particular, are customizable to your organization. So if you look here, I've got this for the Melbourne organization, but if I change that over to one of my other organizations, it's dynamically going to change the data that's within that. I've actually lost that PDF. Sorry, I'll go back to that later and show you how that occurs. But you can see here, I've automatically changed that over to my ABC Inventory Limited company, and I've got different data that's showing up here. So you can automatically change which particular organization you're looking at dynamically through these particular dashboards. Similarly, you can change your budgets. And if you want to, and you're used to looking at scenarios and scenario budgets, you can in fact add scenarios in here as well. Let's flip over and have a look at some of these other ones. So I've got a cash management dashboard here. Again, I've got some KPIs showing up here, just giving me information about what my KPIs are, a number of dials available to me, and my cash flow for the next 6 months and so forth. We saw some of these similar sorts of charts previously, but in this case, it's debtors days, KPI, debt creditor days, and in this case, net profit for a 6-month period here. Let's have a look at the next one, which is our financial position. And again, I've got a number of dials in here. And in this instance, you'll see here being a financial position, I've got my assets and liabilities now showing up as a donut graph. So again, another type of representation of your data is available to you as standard types of templates that you can put on here. And our last one here is profitability. The ones that are available here standard. You'll notice that this one here, the net profit, that's that waterfall chart that we saw previously, but I've turned it up the other way just to show the data slightly differently and fit it into this particular dashboard. And again, similar sorts of information that we've seen before, line charts and so forth. And I can similarly jump over the data and have a look at the information that's in there. Let's have a look at this going off to a PDF. In this instance, I won't drop out of it. And we'll see that, in fact, we can just load up one of these. In this instance, here we go. There we go. We've loaded up that particular PDF with that particular item that we had there. Let's go over some terminology, though. I just want to flip back to the overview chart in particular, because we are going to use this particular chart. This thing here where I've got one graph in it is called a tile. And so we're going to be constantly talking about adding tiles and what tiles have on them and what tiles are connected to. So this is a tile. And in this instance, you can see I've got 6 tiles on my board. Behind each tile is some data. And the data comes from what's called a data source. And that's important as well. We're going to have a look at those and how the information on a data source can enable us to get some very powerful information forward onto these particular dashboards. Okay, so that's the dashboards that you have available to you. I do want to point out here, there's a button over here for share. If you have users who do not have admin rights, then you need to jump in here and share. Now, I don't have anybody else available to me, but if I type in a particular person's email address, in this case, that's my email address. Now, I have full access, so I can't give it to that. But for those people who don't have full access, then you will need to give them the ability to have a look at the particular dashboards. So jump into share and give them the ability to look at the dashboards that you want them to see. You don't necessarily want all of your users to be able to see all of the information. So that is your choice there as well. Okay, let's have a look at the powerful use of these dashboards. I'm going to very quickly jump over into bundles. Now, many of you will have seen this already in reporting basics, but you notice in a bundle, I've got the button over here to say add a dashboard. If I click on that particular button, I can give it a new name. I'll give it a name test, and I can select the dashboard. In this case, it's going to be the overview dashboard, and I'm going to add it into that particular bundle. I could have configured it slightly different, and here it is here. And when I run that particular bundle, that dashboard is going to be a part of that bundle. So hopefully you've seen that already in Reporting Basics. That is a very powerful way to use dashboards. I do recommend and have had many people design their own dashboards, and then that one particular dashboard they put into a bundle. It's the only item in their dashboard, and they send that out automatically on a weekly basis to their management to give them a view of how things are actually running, and they're showing their particular data. So there's that overview dashboard, and within here I've then got my management reports. I had previously added, of course, this profitability dashboard into my particular bundle. I'm going to delete that particular item from my bundle because I don't want that there in my particular bundle. So that's how you can use dashboards in your reporting, is pop them into bundles. But let's get back to dashboards. That is what we're talking about today. I'll flip over to here. And what we want to have a look at is how we can, in fact, build our own. So let's jump over into dashboard tools, because in here we have a dashboard manager and we have our data sources. We've already touched upon sharing. So in our dashboard manager, what we're going to see is the information that goes onto each individual dashboard. Let's see how we're rolling along. Both of them are taking a little bit of time. So if I have a look here, I'm looking at the overview dashboard here. And you can see here I've got a default group. That's where I've got my standard 4 dashboards, but I also have my own custom group, and I've got a number of dashboards already in here that I've been working on. So to create a new dashboard, we're going to have a look at how to do that in just a moment. So on this particular dashboard, you can see how I've got dashboard tiles. And if you recall, on that overview dashboard, we had 6 tiles. Okay, and there they are there. So it's saying here the income for the last 6 months. That was the one in the top left corner, of course, and it says it's using a particular data source, and just remember that it's the movements for the last 6 months data source. Similarly, with all of these other tiles, it's giving me information about which data source it's using and what the name is. We can, of course, copy any one of those. We're going to do that later on, and do some various different things with them. So if we're wanting to add a tile to this particular tile into another dashboard, or this dashboard, we can copy it and we can create another tile on the dashboard. In this instance, I've also, on that particular dashboard, I've got a number of data sources available. Now, all of these, you can see there's a little lock on them here, a little grayed out lock. That means these particular data sources you cannot alter. You can copy them, but at the moment you can't alter these. So if you want to use this particular data source, then we need to copy it, and then we can make adjustments to it and use it elsewhere. So this particular data source, movements for the last 6 months, it says it's used in 2 tiles, and this is how powerful the data sources can be. It's actually used in the 2 tiles called income and expenses, and that's because it's got all the information that we need about movements for the last 6 months, and I've just gone through and was able to select that particular data for income or that particular data for expenses. So that's what's within a particular dashboard. Now, here's the thing. We're going to do some work on this particular dashboard, so I'm going to make a copy. So here's my web test dashboard. I'm going to save those changes. I now have those same 6 tiles and those same 6 dashboards, 5 dashboards, data sources available to me. But please note that these are not customizable at this stage. They are locked because they are part of the system that we've made available to you. Here it is down here. I don't want it in my default group. I actually want it down here in my custom group. So I'm going to pop it down here, and this is the one that we're going to work on. So what we want to be doing with that particular dashboard, and here it is here, is I'm going to take this tile and I'm going to make that tile for the income for the last 12 months instead of 6 months. And that's as simple as we're going to do that. So to start with, let's have a look at the data source that's being used on that tile. Here it is. It says it's using the data source movements for the last 6 months. And in that particular data source, there we are, there, movements for the last 6 months. That's the one we're going to get to and make some changes to on that particular tile, on that particular dashboard. Here's our data sources. Let's go through and have a look at what the components are within a data source and how powerful this can be for you. Here we go. So I've got my webinar data sources already available, and I've got my default ones. This one here, we're going to take this and we're going to have a look at what that is. But before I do that, I want to make a copy of it. So let's use that here, and we're going to use for 12 months. So let's make that 12, and we'll call it that already. Save those changes, and it moved it down to here. You can see here, these ones are locked. This one is not locked. So I've now got a data source that I can use up here. So let's pop it in the right place. I can move it up to here. I'm going to move it right up to the very top, and I can go through and I can make some adjustments to this particular data source. Let's have a look at what's in a data source. So to start with, we can get data from our accounts. We can get data from KPIs. We can get data from a cash flow forecast, or we can in fact get profit waterfall information as well. So in here, it's telling us what we're going to be reporting on. If you recall at the beginning that I could change which particular organization I happen to have been looking at, in that case, it was ABC Inventory, then, and I want to change that because I want to be working on my Melbourne organization later on. But in this particular instance, it says, please make that dynamic. So when I change that organization up here, it changes the data that's available into that particular dashboard. So that's dynamic, but I can go in and I can customize that and make it that it's always going to be the Melbourne organisation. So if I want to report specifically for that and never have it change, then I can fix it into that particular organisation. I can fix which budget it's going to use. And I can also, in fact, if I wanted to, I could go down here and I could say, please always report that particular business unit. So I do have people that have dashboards for each particular business unit, and they've got these items fixed, and they've got a number of particular tiles on their dashboards showing information for that particular business unit. Very useful if you've got managers looking after a business unit and when you want to show them very specific information. I'm going to move it back to being dynamic. Which accounts to use? So you can see here, in this case, I'm using an account tree with just my normal original tree, and this is what it looks like down here. It's pretty standard sort of format here. I have available to me all accounts, and in fact I have the calculation rows. So any of this information is available for you to specify and use within your dashboard. In this case, I'm using summary only, which means I'm just seeing the headings that are available, but I can drill down and say, show me all of the accounts in here. And that just means that if I want to report specifically on one or two or four more of these specific accounts, then I have these available to do that as well. I can report on movements, or I can report on closing balances. Obviously, if I'm doing balance sheet items, I want to be looking at closing balances rather than just movements, but not necessarily. Okay, so that's which accounts we can use. Let's have a look at the dates, and this is where we're going to make some changes. You can see here, this is already set to customize. I have a number of different settings available there into, start this financial year, last year, and so forth. It is set to custom. And it's saying, please do this for 6 months, a 6-month period. So I can see here, I'm currently going for 6 months, October back to May, and it's going to obviously use the actuals. But remember, we wanted to change this, and we wanted to change it to 12 months. So you can see here now I'm going for 12 months. However, this setting up here tells me I need to make some changes because it's now going to go from May 24. We do want to go from 12 months backwards from October. So I'm going to change this setting And you can see here now I'm going from October back to November 23. And I'm going to save those changes because we're going to use that particular data source in our new dashboard. Okay, let's go back to our dashboard manager, because in that particular dashboard, which is this one here, I now still don't have that data source available to me. So I'm going to add a data source, and I'm going to add that one that we've just created. I now have an extra data source in here, I hope. There it is down there. Movements for the last 12. It's not the one I wanted, was it? Yes, it was. That's, of course, the one that I did just create, movements for the last 12. That's the one I want to be using, and it isn't attached to anything at this stage. So we're going to go over to our builder and check how that works. So let's have a look here. We're in our builder. This is where we can do all of our work. We're looking at the overview dashboard. We don't want to do that. We want to have a look at this particular dashboard because we want to be changing that particular tile. Now, this is income for the last 12 months. I'm going to change the data source that this is looking at. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I've got an item down here that says, please change the data source. It's telling me that I'm currently using movements for the last 6 months. I'm going to change that to movements for the last 12 months. It's changed my data source, and I'm now seeing information now for 12 months. I also want to change this label up here. So I'm going to jump into here where I happen to have my caption, and I'm going to change that for the last 12 months. And there we go. We've got our new dashboard tile in here showing a different piece of information. So that's the simple way of being able to do that sort of thing. Just a couple of things you can do within here also. If I click on this button over here, I can change data sources up here. I've got those available to me. I can change the color scheme, so I can click on those and I can change the color scheme to something else if I wanted to do that as well. And if I selected that, it would change the color scheme of everything using that. And I can also jump in here and I can add a logo to the top. So in this instance, I'm going to go off and find my Calxa, one of my Calxa logos in here, and let me just pull that one up. I want all files, and there's my logo. I'm going to open that, and you can see here it's popped it in here, and I'm going to save those changes. And then when I go back to the dashboard, what we're going to see here is, of course, that's my logo that I've just popped into the top of that particular dashboard. It's just moved some things around. Let's have a look here at some other tools, because I didn't want to have that graph there. It's a kind of a different sort of graph, and I want to show it differently. If I click on it and drag this, click on this button at the top corner, you can see I can start, I'm actually moving it around. Where that green button occurs, green line occurs, is where it's going to drop that particular box. If I move it over to the side, you'll see the green button goes from just one half at the top to both. I'm going to release it there, and suddenly I've got this chart has moved into that whole position there. It's actually quite large, so I can now change the size of it if I wanted to. And there we go. I've changed around my chart quite significantly to show my income for 12 months as a much larger size. It has moved everything else around, of course, and made them a different size, but I could also move those around and change them as well. If I wanted to get rid of a particular item off here, I can simply delete that particular chart if I wanted to do that, and then move various others around the place again to get them into a slightly different format. So that's terrific, but let's have a look at how we can start from scratch. Let's just save those changes. So saving that dashboard, I'm going to go over to the dashboard manager again, because I'm going to create a whole new dashboard from scratch. And I see we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we're going to move as quickly as we can. So let's see if I can get over to dashboard tools again, dashboard manager. I want to jump in here, and what I want to do is create a completely blank dashboard and add to it a tile from a template that we have available, and you can see how easily it is to be able to pull that information in. Here we go. So I'm going to create a new dashboard, and I'm going to call it my web test 2 into the default group, of course. Sorry, here it is here. Pop it down here. And that particular web test 2 dashboard, you can see here it's got no tiles and no data sources. Okay, so let's go over to the builder and let's have a look at that particular dashboard, and you'll see, pardon me, this dashboard has absolutely nothing on it at the moment. So let's add a tile from a template. Okay, so I have a bunch of templates available here to me. Account movement templates, account balances, so your balance sheet type items, cash flow, KPI type charts, etc. We're just going to pick this one to make it easy, and we're going to call it income for the last 12 months. And instead of using one of these pre-designed data sources, I'm going to use a custom one, and I'm going to use this particular one that I had created, movements the last 12, and I'm going to pick, instead of income, so you can see here, down here, I have all of those items that were available in my tree. I'm not going to pick that, I'm going to pick expenses. So my name that I've given it's probably not going to be right, is it? Income. Let's call it expenses. There we go. I'm now going to pick up expenses. I have some choices down here because I can show actuals, budget, and last year. I'm going to turn off last year. I can show them as bars. I can also show them as lines. So let's have a look at what they look like. And I can also make these running totals. So these would be cumulative over a period of time. So let's have a look at what that would look like if I had a running total. I don't particularly want to show it that way, but now I've got 2 lines showing me how I've been going for that 12-month period. I'm going to go back and make it a bar and not running total, and I'm going to add that tile into my dashboard. And what will happen, of course, is I now have one tile in my dashboard. If you wanted to add that particular graph into your reporting bundle, then you could do that and you would have just one graph showing up there. Or if you now wanted to go through and add more tiles into that particular dashboard, then you can go and add another tile from a template and create that template exactly the way that you are after. I'm sorry, we're probably going to be running a little overtime, but let's have a very quick review here of what we've done. We've looked at our dashboards, we've looked at the gallery, at the number of dashboards that we have available to me. I have my own dashboards in my customized group, and I have defaults as well available to me. I can go into my dashboard tools. I can look at my dashboard manager and create dashboards with tiles and data sources in them that I choose. And I can go and adjust my data sources to give me the information that I specifically require to be put on to a dashboard. And in my builder, of course, I can go and create I can go and adjust my tiles to suit what I'm after, or I can go and add from a template and create my own tiles that way. Okay, so let's go back and just check how we're going. So we've looked at our preset dashboards, how we can navigate around them, how we can export those. We can get them to a PDF. If you do export them to Excel, it's only the data and not the picture, and how we can add those particular dashboards to a bundle. Then how we can copy and edit dashboards, how we can we copied out that overview one and then we made changes to that particular dashboard. How we can use our dashboard tools and we can add our Calxa logo or your logo onto the top of that particular dashboard, and how we can create, in fact, a blank dashboard and add tiles into that as well. Please remember, of course, there are plenty of help articles, there are plenty of video articles available to you as well. And of course, for many of you, you've already attended Reporting Basics. If you haven't, please do. They happen on Tuesday, Budgeting Basics on Wednesdays, Cash Flow Basics on Thursdays as well. You have help available to you at helpme.calxa.com and helpme@calxa.com. Or in fact, if you happen to be in Calxa, you can click on the little button down here, go to help, type in the article that you're looking for. You can see here dashboards. We've got 15 articles. Many of them do have short videos included with them. Or you can chat with us, type in your message down here. We will get back to you very quickly and give you an answer to your question. So that's Dashboard Basics today. I want to thank you for joining me today and wish you all the best with your adventures with Calxa. Thank you very much.